Well, now it is time for Mixing It with Mark Russell and Robert Sandell. The programme contains some strong language.
Hello, tonight is the last in our series of 3 programmes about the alternative music scene in Los Angeles. In the previous 2, we spoke to some of its most interesting figures, from veteran rockers to out-there hip-hoppers, via film scorers and contemporary composers. Tonight, we play some of the music we picked up while we were there, and some CDs that people recommended, and just stuff that fits in with our weird map of LA. So expect to hear Elmer Mayer, Drumbo, Steve Roden, Inara George, Cobol, Kanye West, Wilco with Nels Klein and many others. And we end tonight's show with a piece in tribute to the great British guitarist Derek Bailey, who died on Christmas Day.
And first up, we have a prime example of LA's alternative hip-hop scene, courtesy of the duo called Mad Villain. They are Otis Jackson Jr., a man of many aliases, notably Mad Lib and Quasimoto, and Daniel Dumile, who usually records as MF Doom. They started working together in 2004 and put out an album, Mad Villainy, with 22 tracks, some of them instrumentals. Here are a couple.
The villain took on many forms.
Let he who is without sin cast the first stone. After you whose last is doomed, he's the worst known. That'll have your boom blown or either thirst bone. Rockets won't burst, clone, just don't curse the grown. On his own microphone, bring it everywhere he go, so he can bring it to you live in stereo. Panic, can't understand it, ban it. The underhanded ran it, planned it, and left him stranded. The best, any who profess will be remanded. Yes sir, request permission to be candid, granted. I don't think we can handle a style so rancid. He flipped it like Madden and did the old jazz standard. Don't mind me, I wrote this rhyme lightly off of 2 or 3 heinies, and boy was they fine, G. One black, one Spanish, one Chinese. It keeps the woody shiny around like a pine tree. Don't sign me, I'm about to get a mill without him. Crowd him off the shelf, he's the villain, and what about him? So, and he's a jerk and you don't know him. Mad how he expand work but won't show him. Poor guys, what a sight for old sore 4 eyes. Now hook me with 2 apple pies and a small fries. All rise, so far odd as a ruple. So raw, break it down and make quadruple. It's crucial, you can see it in his pupil. And this time when he get it, he'll waste it on something useful, like getting juiced off a deuce of cokie. Keep it low key, known to pull a okie dokie. Silly goose, doom is too jokey. Damn, he could really use a room or a whole key. Egads, he got enough styles to start 3 fads. True that, she bad, I wonder do she come with knee pads? What a call, what a real butterball. Either I get a strike or strike out, gutter ball. Rocket like gear for the 4 with nice inside pockets prepared for the brawl. Yeah, y'all, you could say it's an earful. Beware, do not touch mic, be careful. And just like he said, I could've told you, MF, the holder of a boulder, money folder. Money folder.
Muscle-bound karate expert concealed a razor edge which could lop the head off of a marble statue once propelled with notorious world takeover schemes and the most magnificent gadgets imaginable. Villains rapidly grew healthy cash flow. It is explained by a more comedic villain, the bald-headed Doom. This villain rose to incredible new heights of money-making, revenge, and extortion. Such was the magnitude of the typical villain.
This is no answer. Very well, then. Adieu.
Yeah, you had Mad Villain, who are MF Doom and Mad Lib, 2 tracks from their album Mad Villainy, Do Not Fire and Money Folder. And I ought to perhaps tell you, if you're interested, that MF, the initials of MF Doom's name, stands for Metal Face, which is what he appears to be wearing on the cover of the album, which is really quite a striking little sci-fi fantasy creation there.
Yeah, and we were lucky enough to hook up with Mad Lib in the end. And I was intrigued by the range of his sampling. On one project, I noticed he'd sampled British prog rockers Gentle Giant and Soft Machine, which is rather odd for the cutting edge of LA hip-hop.
And as we were saying, well, especially at the beginning of those that sort of sequence, really, rather than 2 tracks that we played, it's barely hip-hop a lot of the time. I mean, it's a kind of collage of samples with occasional references to rap, but
in fact, the albums I've listened to of his, collage is the best word, really, because it is sequences of pieces intercut. It's very clever stuff. And I've noticed lots of people have name-checked him. I noticed Kieran Hebden from Fortet name-checked him recently. Now, the next piece is from a CD that Brian Woodbury gave us. Brian, you may remember, is a composer, songwriter and big band leader who we featured a few times before. The CD he gave us is by Elmer Mayer, a Californian classically trained composer who played in the art pop band Some Philharmonic, also with one Brian Woodbury. The album's called Elmer Mayer, and from it, this is The Tide.
The tide is rising and the moon is high and still rising on the bounding main. We're waiting for the big wave that's capsizing or the uprooted plane. The next thing I see is a wave goes by. The wave that goes by is a mighty fine train. The wave that I see is the train to ride. The sails are filling and the wind is up and still changing. Sea to rising sea. We're watching while the waves keep rearranging the shapes of history. The flags are flying and the mood is high. The tide is turning toward the ground that's still dry. We're wading through the marsh of time. We're waiting for the waving flags to touch ground and burn white. We're waiting for the half-passing rains on this parade to snap tight. The next thing I see is a wave goes by. The wave that goes by is a mighty fine train. The next thing I see is the train to
Great ending chord, that. That was Elmer Mayer, The Tide, from her album Elmer Mayer on Ponk Records. And I suppose I should say that she's actually married to Brian Woodbury, and we went and talked to him at their house in Silver Lake, and she let us in and was extremely hospitable, and she never ever mentioned that she was singer and composer. So this CD was a complete surprise to me, and it's very good.
I still remember the delicious cookies that she offered us. Our first LA snack, that was. Now, one of the high points for me of our trip to LA was sitting amid the Joshua trees in the garden of John French's house in Lancaster, mulling over the early days of Lancaster's 2 most famous sons, Frank Zappa and Captain Beefheart. French, in case you didn't know, was Beefheart's original drummer who appeared on the album credits as Drumbo. He now leads the partially reformed Magic Band and has just finished recording an album written in Magic Band's style, which is called City of Refuge. This will appear this year on the Proper Records label, and the track we've chosen is a demo version which he pressed into our hands himself of The Withered Hand of Time.
white waterfall. The smell of moss, warm on the side, but across the way, the spiders abide. Inside their ornate jewel kingdom, strewn with webnet, sparkling winglets, jewels of dew scatter shards of light. A million tiny rainbows flicker through my sight. The clawing waves shuddering as my foot falls. The falling cake splintering in shards. Disguise. A sparkle sickness likes light into dilation, crying tears of death to our imagination. Hair-like clouds singed from sullen sun. Heads crumble, sulfur spits out an omen. How long you thought you could ignore me? As the ringless key fell from the withered hand of time. How long you thought you could ignore me? How long you thought you could ignore me? How long you thought you could ignore me? As the ringless key fell from the withered hand of time.
Great stuff, and proof, if proof were needed, that John French was much more than just the drummer in Captain Beefheart's band. He was doing the vocals there as well. That's called The Withered Hand of Time, and it will be out later this year, we gather, on an album called City of Refuge.
And he recorded that in his garage studio, which he showed us around, where he has a drum kit all set up and he played all the keyboards and stuff. But interesting listening to that. He is a fantastic drummer because he doesn't, I mean, there's a very strong pulse going through that piece, but the drums don't provide it. The drums play round the beat. They're doing all these clever embellishments. He really is a great player.
It's perhaps now the time we ought to mention the sad news that came in recently that Alex Snoofer, who was known as Alex St. Clair, who played on some of the very early Beefheart albums and was a long-term associate of the Captains, died recently. Had a rather troubled relationship with Beefheart over the years, but will be remembered particularly for his work on the Safe as Milk album.
Right, here's a track by a man that many people mention, Steve Roden. He's an LA-based composer and minimalist, and he released a series of CDs, each created using the sound of a single modernist design object. An Eames chair, a George Nelson lamp, and here, a metal chair designed by Harry Bertoia. Roden says, "The idea came from strumming these things as I passed them in our apartment on a daily basis," as well as wondering whether Bertoia ever played one of his own chairs. Well, if he did and had access to computers and fancy software, it might well have sounded like this. Click. Steve Roden with a piece called Click from In Between Noise, the album Chair, a subscape of resonance, and every sound on that was generated by rubbing, bowing, plucking, scratching, a 1950 steel diamond chair designed by Harry Bertoya and, of course, processed electronically, and that was given to us by Akira Rabelais, who we met, who is a composer and software designer.
Now, one of the hallowed names of the LA rock scene of the 1970s was Lowell George, leader of Little Feat, and briefly before that a member of Frank Zappa's backing band, Mothers of Invention. George's daughter Inara was recommended to us by Van Dyke Parks on the evening we spent very enjoyably nattering and drinking wine round at his house. And although we didn't have time to track her down for a proper debrief while we were there, we did manage to locate a copy of her one album, All Rise, which adds an interesting and characterful twist to the female singer-songwriter story. Born around the time that Joni Mitchell was reinventing herself as the Lady of the Canyon, this is Inara George, and Everybody Knows.
Won't you do what you are wanting? Won't you lay down, relax? Your face is not well. From such a face it is beginning. Are you turning red now? Will you ever be the same? Everybody knows. Everybody knows. When will you know? When will you know? Could you sit with me forever? Could you sit with me forever? We could count the days. Are you saving up your faces? Are you turning to the side? Are you making up your mind? Everybody knows. Everybody knows. When will you know? When will you know?
Inara George, daughter of the famous Lowell George, and a track called Everybody Knows from her album All Rise. And perhaps I should tell you that she's actually sung for Van Dyke Park's Idlewild and Jackson Browne in the past, and she's worked on this album with Beck and Ben Harper. And it would be interesting to see really how she sort of manages to develop, because I think she's a very good lyricist. And I think she's got a nice voice. And in fact, I think you were saying that she reminded you of some of those Scandinavian vocalists.
That track sounds very Scandinavian with that sort of lo-fi electronic thing. She sounds a bit like Stina Nordenstam or Hannah Huckelberg.
I don't think she's quite found her kind of musical milieu yet, but definitely want somebody to watch.
Right, this next track is interesting to me because it's by two Mexican musicians living in LA. Interesting, I suppose, in that driving around LA, particularly in the Hollywood Hills area, I was reminded how Mexican the place looks. And in fact, until 1847, Los Angeles was still part of Mexico. Anyway, Cobol is the name of the duo. They play glitchy jazz with no discernible Mexican influence after my build-up there. And this is the title track from their debut album, Broken Ebony. That's an LA duo called Cobol. That's a title track from their most recent album, Broken Ebony, and they are Argel Cote on drums and Nacio Chavez, who plays everything else, and they work out of their San Fernando studio in LA.
It's an interesting sort of West Coast mellow vibe to it, that track, doesn't it?
They cite as their influences Miles Davis, Pat Metheny and Weather Report. There's no surprise listening to that. A lot of the album is quite sort of glitchy. It reminds me slightly of some of the things that come out of the Tortoise based collective in Chicago. But yeah, I really like that album.
Now, he calls himself a motivational speaker for lapsed Indian punk kids. Others have referred to him as a performance artist and a bit of a lunatic. Brendan Fowler's another LA name we didn't quite catch up with while we were there, but would like to draw your attention to now. He's a drummer with a passion for the spoken word, which sometimes shades into the sort of free-form hip-hop you associate with the Anticon label. A lot of the time, he sounds like he's just making it up on the spot. He records under the name BAR, which he mysteriously accounts for as follows. It's an acronym, allegedly. B is for We Will Overcome, A is for Always, R is for It May Take a Minute, and the next R is for Always in the End, Yes.
How do you start something? You start it. How do you start something? You start it. How do you introduce something? You start it. Little hands reading at the store. It has started already. It's really, really begun already. For sure. How do you start something? Rip something off. Cover your friend's song. It's a cover. Or, this song is a cover. This is a cover. This is a cover.
You can't see the house is in disarray. We lost our electricity and water and heat and power and water and pacing and offers and reasons. We suffer, not very bad, but it's significant. You lost her. I'm going so fast. How did I get here? From a few little clips to a few more little clips. Not sure how to sit. Your ass broke the checkbook. I said so many things. I didn't even know what I was saying. The thing about the women's shelter, you know, I was just talking about, I was thinking about, I don't even know. Honestly, I'm sorry, baby. How do any of us, take it and turn it into take it down a notch? There are so many materials. I mean, I always say, look at all that stuff, this CD and this stage. Where did it come from and how was it made? And how did it get here? I can't even believe it got made at all. Can a rubber tree, can a wubba-twee, will we make tiles that big? Lights out! Lights out! Lights back on! 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 Can't see the house is in disarray. We lost our electricity and water and heat and power and water and pacing and offers and reasons. We suffer, not very bad, but it's significant. You lost her. I'm going so fast. How did I get here? From a few little clips to a few more little clips. Not sure how to sit. Your ass broke the checkbook. I said so many things I didn't even know what I was saying. The thing about the women's shelter, you know, I was just thinking about, I don't even know. Honestly, I'm sorry, babe. How do any of us, take it and turn it into take it down a notch? Okay. There are so many materials. I mean, I always say, look at all that stuff. This CD and this stage, where did it come from? And how was it made? And how did it get here? I can't even believe it got made at all. Like, can a rubber tree really make tires? Can a rubber tree really make tires that big? Collagen loss and lips breaks down like bones. Collagen loss and lips breaks down like bones. Cripple cross, not like Christ. But like Skullhead, you have had twice, dude. You heard it twice, dude. What are you saying? Are you okay? Barry, I think you thought Michael meant it when he said it, but honestly, he barely thought to think before he let it out. And now everyone's all, dude, what's that about? I agree with you, actually. What you were saying about the collage being kind of contrived and corny, and I'm sorry to say it, but sometimes I think we have to force it. I'm sorry to say it. I'm not the one that made how it is, but I'm sorry to say it nonetheless. And it made sense that she was stressed. The way that motherfucker face gave her the runaround about the mortgage on her place, it really made me mad. Like, could you believe his audacity? Like, I used to like one of your old records, but then I found out you're a fuck to my friend, and I can't buy your shit ever again. And it's crazy how perspectives and art might depend on bad facts that reoccur time and time again. And I think the thing to do is to put the guest track or the cover song on the record second to last or right before the back or something like that. And I did that and I done that. Whatever. But I think the alternative warrior woman in the gas station parking lot is not fazed by where you put your keys when you close the door and bump the trunk of the truck of the parking mall van in the mini mall out in the valley. You know, I heard that's actually how they got free when they finally crippled the monarchy. A countryside of people singing and a countryside of children riding and skating in a warehouse that the city of Eindhoven sold them for $1. And on the ride back on the plane, Dad, on the plane, why aren't you involved in your son's life? Do you hate your son? Do you hate your own life? And son goes, Dad, look, I know this isn't the normal way to do it, but I made up Dad, everything's just jacked, and I made up a one-liner to try to get to the heart, you know, just nail it, you know what I mean, Dad? And, anyways, Dad, I hope you're fully in the movie theaters workers union with full health care and...
I don't even know what you're talking about.
Son reasserts. Dad, I hope you're fully in the movie theaters workers union with full...
I am not in the movie theater.
Son reasserts. Dad, I hope you're fully in the movie theaters workers union with full health care and benefits and everything.
Why?
Because you sure are projecting super hard, Dad.
So, make of that what you will. That was Barr, and 3 tracks from his album Beyond Reinforced Jewel Case. Those tracks are called A Cover, Lights Out, and Like I Used to Like. There are 16 tracks in total on the album. You've heard 3 of them. And as Mark was rather sagely remarking while that was going on, it's a bit like a white version of Mad Lib, wasn't that your...
Yeah, well, the way the tracks go into each other with the spoken word. And I suppose it's more acoustic, the instrumentation, less sort of studio and sampled based, but has a similar sensibility to me.
He's an interesting fellow, this guy, and he's coming over to the UK apparently at some point early in 2006, so we must try and track him down and maybe see if we can get him to do a session for us.
Right, another CD by some more ex-members of Brian Woodbury's Some Philharmonic Band. Oh yes, they get around. This band's called The Native Shrubs of Santa Monica Mountains, and they're led by Michael Webster, who sent us this great email. We formed in the early 90s, me, Joe Moe and Mark Doughton. We'd come to LA a few years earlier at the behest of Van Dyke Parks. The goal of the Shrubs was to work the then-abandoned vein of psychedelic music from Southern California, to be, in that way, local. The lyrics on this song were written by Joe Moe, a third-generation Polynesian entertainer. They ask the question, how would it be to share parentage with Tor Johnson, Swedish big-time wrestler and star of Plan 9 from Outer Space? The method was to make a tiny film in music, jump cuts, wipes, voiceovers and pans. This is My Mom is Tor Johnson's Mom.
Nor drive a car. Tor Johnson doesn't brush his tooth. Tor Johnson
Johnson bites the dentist.
Imagine, if you will, last New Year's Eve party. Tore naked but for loincloth made of potato sack. Barbecue moonlight glistening the drop of chicken blood on his chins.
I am sneaky. Shut up, please.
Flop belly up on chip and dip, Tor shows his Stanislavski, scares the guests into the pool.
I says, boo, the guy and the girl is going in the pool. Potatoes chip, potatoes salad.
My mom is Tor Johnson's mom.
Shut up.
My mom is Tor Johnson's mom. My mom is Tor Johnson's mom. My mom is Tor Johnson's
Well, the band is called The Native Shrubs of the Santa Monica Mountains, and that track was called, as you might have guessed, My Mom is Tor Johnson's Mom, and it came out as an EP on Relentless Records. It sort of took in everything from Frank Zappa to the Beach Boys.
Yeah.
And Michael Webster, one of the group's members, gave us a long email about what they're all doing now, and we're going to follow up some of their more recent projects. That I think that came out in '99, and we're going to get some other CDs.
There was a very cunning mimicry going on in that track, wasn't there? In fact, at times it almost sounded like an art version of the Barron Knights. You know, this sort of, right now we're going to do a bit of Zappa, now we're going to do some Beach Boys. It's incredible. Great. Now, I enjoyed meeting the guitarist Nels Cline and hearing from him about the tenacious staying power of LA's improv scene. And it was good to hear, too, about his new day job with Wilco. In between gigs with improvising jazz musicians and experimental rock heads, Cline hits the road with Jeff Tweedy's band. An unlikely post, you may think, judging from the sound of Wilco's more recent records, but live they're a different story, as witness this from the live double CD Kicking Television. This is the guitar-tastic freak-out in concert version of Kid Smoke.
kisses show. Fly like winged birds, starting for the keys on a private beach in Michigan. Telescopic phone. It's good to be alone. just say what they mean. Come clean, listen and talk. Hail the private callers, IDs blocked. So we'll rise to the climb in the cause. Future has a valley and a short around. Who will wear the crown and drown in the war? Pull the private light on this shitty shore. sell kid smoke from a microscopic home. It's good to be alone.
That was Wilco featuring the LA guitarist Nels Cline on guitar pyrotechnics. The track was Spiders, Kid Smoke, and that was from the album Kicking Television, live in Chicago. I wonder if that's a reference to the New York band of the 70s, Television, reminded me slightly of Television.
It does have something of that to it, yes. Although why would they be kicking them, Mark? What's your point here? What's your point?
No point at all. It was on the None Such label.
Now, we met Ken Gibson of 8 Frozen Modules in his cosy cabin in Echo City, where he played us some of the solo electronica he now creates in his bedroom studio. He also told us about his former life as a member of the LA band Furry Things. As we left, he pressed a copy of the Furry Things CD, Frequent Lunacy, which came out in 1997, into our hot hands. And here's a track from it, which suggests that Ken was at least halfway towards his solo career before the band called it a day. And there you have Furry Things, a track called Angel, Warm and Cold, the Wiltsey remix from an album called Frequent Lunacy, and that was the band of Ken Gibson, who we featured in the programme when we met when we were in LA, and he trades under the name of 8 Frozen Modules these days.
Now, when we were leaving Ken Gibson's house, I asked him who he really rated, who was working in LA at the moment, and without hesitation he said Talocyanine. This is the alter ego of Dimitri Fergadis, who specialises in lo-fi, stuttering, high-energy programming, which sounds strangely reminiscent of one Ken Gibson. So this is from his second album, No One Said You Didn't. This is Talocyanine and Hilbert Space. Well, the band is called Tallow Cyanide. I say band, it's really Dimitri Fergardis. That track was Hilbert Space, and the album's called No One Said You Didn't, which is on the British label Planet Moo, and that was recommended to us by Ken Gibson.
Now, another high point of the LA trip was definitely watching the multi-instrumentalist John Bryan performing his weekly one-man improvised show at the Largo Club in Hollywood on Friday night. This guy has an amazing intuitive grasp of how to mix and mangle sounds and elaborate themes, which I suppose is why he's in such demand as a producer. Bryan's most illustrious client recently was the rapper Kanye West, who took full advantage of his extensive knowledge of the popular canon on the album Late Registration, as you will hear on this track, which also features Jay-Z. This is Diamonds from Sierra Leone.
Diamonds are forever. They are all I need to please me. They can stimulate and tease me. They won't leave in the night. I've no fear that they might desert me. Diamonds are forever.
Throw your diamonds in the sky if you feel the vibe. The rock is still alive every time I rhyme. Forever, ever, forever, ever, 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 ever. Good morning, this ain't Vietnam still. People lose hands, legs, arms for real. Little was known of Sierra Leone and how it connect to the diamonds we own. When I speak of diamonds in a song, I ain't talking about the ones that be glown. I'm talking about Rockefeller, my home, my chain. These ain't conflict diamonds. Is they Jacob? Don't lie to me, man. See a part of me saying, keep shining. How? When I know what a blood diamonds. Though it's thousands of miles away, Sierra Leone connect to what we go through today. Over here, it's the drug trade. We die from drugs. Over there, they die from what we buy from drugs. The diamonds, the chains, the bracelets, the charms is. I thought my Jesus piece was so harmless. Till I seen a picture of a shorty armless. And here's the conflict. It's in a black person's soul to rock that gold. Spend your whole life trying to get that ice. On a polo rugby, you look so nice. How can something so wrong make me feel so right? Right? Before I beat myself up like Ike, you can still throw your Rockefeller diamond tonight. Because throw your diamonds in the sky if you feel the vibe. The rock is still alive every time I rhyme. Forever, ever, forever, ever, 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 ever. People asking me is I'm gonna give my chain back. That'll be the same day I give the game back. You know the next question, dawg, yo, where Dame at? This track the Indian dance to bring our rain back. What's up with you and Jay, man? Are y'all okay, man?
Yep, I got it from here, yeah, damn. The chain remains, the gang is intact. The name is mine, I'll take blame for that. The pressure's on, but guess who ain't gonna crack? Pardon me, I had to laugh at that. How could you falter when you're the rock at your balls? I had to get off the boat so I could walk on water. This ain't no tall order, this is nothing to me. Difficult takes a day, impossible takes a week. I do this in my sleep. I sold kilos of coke. I'm guessing I could sell CDs. I'm not a businessman, I'm a businessman. Let me handle my business, damn. Kanye's, you got me. Freeway and Foxy, YG's, Tierra Marie. PD, watch me. Bleak could be one hit away his whole career. As long as I'm alive, he's a millionaire. And even if I die's in my will somewhere, so he could just kick back and chill somewhere. Oh yeah, he don't even have to write rhymes. A dynasty like my money lasts 3 lifetimes. Shelly Bass is in the rear saying exactly what I was saying practically my whole career. The diamond is forever, I've been mining this forever. Now the Louis Vuitton Dawn's coming, couldn't be better. People lined up to see the Titanic sinking. Instead we rose from the ash like a phoenix. If you're waiting for the end of the dynasty sign, it would seem like forever is a mighty long time. Young bitches. Good night.
Kanye West and Diamonds from Sierra Leone. That's a remix featuring Jay-Z, and one of the producers on that track was our friend John Bryan, who we very much enjoyed meeting on our LA trip. And if you'd like details of that and everything else we played in tonight's programme, you can email us at mixing.it@bbc.co.uk. You can go to the website, bbc.co.uk/Radio 3, and there's a message board there where you can leave messages for us if you like. And you can also listen to the programme again at any point over the coming week. You can get the playlist on page 652 of CFAX, and any other inquiries you can always write to us at Mixing It, BBC Broadcasting House, London, W1A1AA.
Now, after us tonight, stay tuned for Jazz on 3 and their tribute to Derek Bailey, the British free jazz guitarist who died on Christmas Day. And we end with a few words of our own. Bailey was a tireless experimenter, whether on acoustic or electric, and he'd play with anyone who he felt was doing something interesting, and that's what happened when we recorded him at this LMC concert back in April 1997. He was playing with the Japanese prog rock duo The Ruins, and this shows that he wasn't averse to a bit of noisy, free-form rocking out. We're back next week with a session from one of my favourite singer-songwriters in the entire universe, John Vanderslice. But until then, here are Derek Bailey and The Ruins with improvisation number 5. Good night.
Good night.
Improvisation number 5 by Derek Bailey and Ruins, recorded at the Purcell Room in London in 1997. Mixing it was presented by Mark Russell and Robert Sandler, and the producer was Felix Carey.